purple torch or blue mist flower. This is Bartlettina sordida, or Eupatorium sordida as it was known previously. It's a beautiful shade loving plant. It'll take a little bit of morning sun of course, but it is something that will grow beautifully in deep shade. It's got large, lush, dark green foliage, and the spring flowers, mauve coloured spring flowers, are just to die for. It's just a wonderful plant. It's quite dry hardy. It'll grow in a woodland where it's quite dry seasonally, but it will handle quite high rainfalls as well. We're up at Sherbrooke here looking at these today. They're from the cloud forests of Mexico, and a lot of the cloud forest plants are beautiful plants in the landscape because they tend to have large foliage adapted for the environment that they're native to, and they just make, overall, the cloud forest plants, like your Montanoas and many other plants, they tend to make really good landscape plants because of the foliage. And then of course most of them do have good flowers, often because they have evolved with pollination and so forth, with bees or butterflies or whatever the specific pollinator is for that plant. Great sort of feel in the landscape because they're large shrubs, and they'll fill out underneath bigger trees a whole garden bed really well if you plant multiple plants. I'll get up a bit closer here and you can get a sense of just how big some of the bigger foliage is. You know, like that's a really nice sized leaf, and really good foliage with really good spring flowers. And I always say, you know, there's 52 weeks in a year, and these evergreens will look good in your landscape as an understory of larger medium-sized trees. So they're a really good fit in the landscape, and something that'll fill out the landscape and make it look lush and complete 12 months of the year. So really good plants, contrast beautifully with other plants with this dark clean foliage, large leaves. They'll get multiple meters high in this environment. There'll be these ones here, it's between 2 and 3 meters high. They tend to be more multi-stemmed bushy shrubs rather than trees, but certainly are larger shrubs. They're not little tiny shrubs at all. But great plants. They'll handle cold, they'll handle reasonable dryness, they'll handle a warmer environment. I mean, in most of southern Australia, right up to southern Queensland, these plants are pretty hardy. So they'll handle a range of environments as long as they've got good drainage and are well watered in droughty conditions, but they will handle temporary drought conditions without extra water to sustain them. They are relatively hardy. And the other thing that you can do that will, when you get big plants like this that are 2 to 3 meters high, if you cut them very hard back, they respond beautifully and will come back much bushier and lusher in the subsequent year, and quickly. So really good landscape plant, Eupatorium sordidum, or Bartlettina sordida, which is the more correct name to use these days. And like I said, from the cloud forests of Mexico, which kind of gives it a nice little charming story alongside it to tell your friends when you've got one of these established in your garden. So try them because they really are exquisite. We need more good evergreens in the landscape. You know, sometimes we've got, we mass-produce pittosporums and so forth, and they've got their place in hedging and that sort of thing, but a lot of the time they lack a little character in the landscape, and there is so many of them, we tend to overplant some of these things when in all reality we've got lots of evergreens that would make good alternatives. This is more for a shady position, this evergreen, but there's plenty of other options with evergreens in full sun, so you don't just have to do the mainstream varieties all the time. Try to do a little bit of research and think outside the square, because there's often better options and more variations so that you make the landscape more interesting, because you can create a very bland palette in the landscape in a garden, especially if you're wanting to plant, if you've got a bit of space and you've got room for a bunch of stuff. You know, we can be too blindsided by what's being heavily promoted under our noses and miss out on the wonderful plant diversity that's available to us if we just do a little bit of research. So try these, because these are really good. These are on a nice sunny day. These mauve flowers, purpley mauve flowers, are really shining with the sun on them, and they've been here for many years. Ruth and George Tyndale planted these a very long time ago, and they've been cut back multiple times over these years. I've been coming here since I was a child, so I've been coming here more than 50 years to these gardens, probably closer to 60 years. And some of these plants have been here a very long time, and are I think sometimes we can get blindsided by plants being promoted, and we miss some of these old-fashioned beauties that really hold up well in the landscape, in any landscape, if they're used correctly.